With Grandmaster Varden Kai, as we like to call him, he doesn't show any emotion. He's basically the sort of the tutor in the game. There's a master sort of pupil relationship. The novice, the game player, is tasked with going on a journey, and he's incredibly stern. Doesn't give anything away. He's like I always imagined his face to be made of granite that is set in a fixed kind of very hard, stern stare that doesn't give, that doesn't reveal anything about him. But then occasionally you see a little grain of humanity in there, but it's few and far between. He's very, he's strict. He does care, obviously, for his community and as the high up leader of the Grey Knights. He's very, he has to maintain a level of protection for that world. He's also the steward of the armory, so he's in charge of where the arms go, basically, where all the equipment gets shipped. So he's got a lot on his plate. And he doesn't suffer fools. He really doesn't suffer fools. So he's kind of very, very hard on the novices who are coming through the game. So that's the relationship, and you kind of don't want to get on the wrong side of it, for sure.
So that's interesting you say about Stony Face, because when I think of Andy Serkis, I mainly think of Ian Jury, that fantastic performance you did, a masterclass in portraying a character. And very emotional, very expressive person. So it's going to be interesting to see a master portraying that emotion, trying to do a lot with a little less and having to be more stone. Because of course it's voice, isn't it? It's another thing, which we're used to seeing with you, but it feels like this is really going to be a more strict down the line kind of character.
Well, it is. I mean, you're right. And the thing is, obviously, because we're not using performance capture to create these characters, it is purely a voice piece. But nevertheless, you still have to think your way into it. The acting process doesn't change in terms of choices that you're making, how you are physically, because that affects your voice, where you place the voice, where it resonates from, and what is, how much you're revealing with that voice as a character. So you're making all the same acting choices, but like you say, in this case, it's very, it's very pulled back. It's very, very pulled back.
How would your Grandmaster interact with someone like your interpretation of Gollum or Snoke? How would they overlap these clashes of personality?
I'd love to see. Yeah, we should create a scene in this journey where Grandmaster Varden Kai basically tears into Gollum Smeagol. I'm trying to imagine a kind of meeting between them. If Gollum Smeagol were to go on the mission, it would drive Varden Kai insane. He would be. I think he might get his granite face to crack for sure.
What was it about this project that appealed to you?
Growing up as a kid, I loved painting models. I loved the whole visceral nature of airfix and lots of other different model kits. In fact, I started off by painting things like, I had the Monster series. I think they were Revell, if you remember those things. Model kits of like the Phantom of the Opera and the Hunchback of Notre Dame, King Kong, Godzilla, all of the monster universe. It fascinates me that you're taking something which is coming from the physical world of storytelling and is taking a step into the virtual world, and having spent time in the video game world as well. I just, in terms of storytelling, I'm interested in that journey and seeing how it translates into the video game, pantheon, really.
Okay, yeah, because obviously, Heavenly Sword springs to mind when I think of you.
Yep.
I think of gaming. How does this relate to an experience like that?
Well, it's very different in the sense that was a full-on performance captured experience and the first of its kind in a way that it felt like that was quite a groundbreaking game in the sense that it was all really about character, and we were taking steps forward and saying, game players will, if it's good enough, if the drama is engaging enough, then they won't just flick through it and go to the next gameplay. Yeah. So that was, and we rehearsed it as you would if you were making a film, or we worked on the characters in exactly the same way, and we shot it like a movie. So, I mean, this experience is very different. It's purely doing a voice role, but nevertheless, it still requires you to you know, as I say, to engage with all of your skill as an actor.
Well, when I do think of the way the video game acting is going now, there's more involved process, you know, like you say, rehearsal, motion capture, almost becoming the standard. Mm-hmm. It does seem as though a lot of that does come down to your own work in that space, because you really did inspire a lot of people, like myself, to really pay attention to that world of it. Seeing your performances and, you know, as an actor, and motion capping, brought that to life in a whole new way. It seems perfect for video games.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, interestingly, I was saying this earlier actually, what is fascinating is that it's sort of, in the early 2000s, video games were really looked down on as not artistic enterprises. They weren't storytelling. They were just kind of, you know, it was all about the violence and you know, and it wasn't about anything else. And the film industry kind of really were quite snobbish, I think, at the time about video, you know, about certain video game franchises. And actually now the whole thing has flipped on its head, because we use, in the film industry, we use video game technology for pre-production, for scouting locations, for building previs. You know, you can, you know, using real-time video game engine technology is how the film industry is moving forward, and then that pipeline goes straight through into film production and into post-production. So I think it's very gratifying to see that those two worlds have really melded to enable us to tell stories in a much more satisfying way.
It is wonderful to see. I do sort of understand that snobbishness. You know, cinema's been around for a long time, and then this young upstart of a medium just arrives and was able to view so much of what film had learned straight up. You mentioned model kits and things like that. That layered process of bringing something, different pieces, to life as a model, how similar do you see that to the video game process?
There is a sort of lineage in, say, for instance, stop motion puppetry, moving into, you know, I love stop motion puppetry, and I actually love puppets, full stop. I think, you know, marionette puppetry is a beautiful art form, and I'm easily kind of as entranced and moved by characters that are made of wood. When you see really great puppetry, there's something really engaging and quite emotional about them sometimes. There used to be a great puppet theatre in Islington called the Angel Marionette Theatre, and I, you know, used to go and watch things there, and it used to blow my mind. I find it so, yeah, as I say. So but then you look at someone like Ray Harryhausen and stop motion, and then you look at performance capture, and there is a sort of trajectory through all of that as a means of communicating characters and telling stories, and really engaging an audience's expectation. But it's the same. It's still kind of finding the humanity in or the kind of the heart or the sentient kind of nature of you bringing something to life. It's just in using different tools. Yeah.
That humanity in something that, you know, is just an object until you personify it like that.
That's right.
Do you have time for any models now, or is that past, Andy?
I re-engaged with Airfix kind of when I had kids. You know, I'd sort of on the pretense of getting them excited about it, but it was really about me being able to revisit my youth as much as anything, I suppose.
Rightly so. You know.
You know.
Well, that's nice to see. And when it comes to Warhammer as like a model process, the painting, you know, that therapeutic kind of act.
Yeah.
Is that something that you still see as vital as like a type of game today?
Definitely. I mean, I think it's immersive. It's connective. You are kind of authoring the life of this thing that you're painting. You know, you're giving it character. It is immersive. It's definitely an immersive thing. So for sure, I can absolutely see the appeal.
You mentioned the model of King Kong. So do you think there's something about that model process that maybe is why you enjoy acting? Something about that putting life into something?
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's very interesting because with King Kong, Peter Jackson, I mean, this is his story really, I'm just sort of riffing off his story, but Peter first made his version of King Kong, the movie, by cutting up his mum's fur stole, and when people had fur stoles, and made a stop motion puppet of King Kong. And when he was 7 years old, he made a model of the Empire State Building, and actually, when we were doing our version of it in 2004, he brought it out, and it was incredible to see that was what made him want to become a filmmaker, and the love for it sort of is the same in a way. His his approach to filmmaking has that enthusiasm and is enchanted by it as much as he was when he was a kid, and I feel the same way actually. I still feel that the sorts of things that I'm involved in are like having this fabulously extended childhood where you can really play and enjoy.
That's the thing, isn't it? Play. That's what's brilliant about a game, whether it be Warhammer or taking on a role. It's that play. And something that's brilliant for gamers like myself is we get to act in our roles opposite you. This is our movie, and you're the support.
That's absolutely right. That's definitely it. You play the set. You know, as the player, you are the lead person in it. You're number one on the call sheet.
We get top billing and you don't.
Yes, absolutely.
Before we mentioned Gollum. To state an opinion, as someone who's the definitive version of that character, now that there's a game coming up for it, do you feel like a sort of an attachment? Is someone encroaching on your girlfriend by taking this character?
Never, no, you don't. You become the custodian of a role for a bit. I mean, there was the original King Kong, there was the 1976 King Kong, there was our King Kong, there's now King Kong Skull Island. You know, you're part of a journey and I happen to have had some very, very pleasant years in Middle Earth, in two big trilogies with that character, and so I feel incredibly fortunate, and I have a huge love for it. But it's the most brilliant piece of writing by J.R. Tolkien, and it's a story that will go on being retold and retold. And there's never a definitive version. You can't really think of it like that, I don't think, of anything. It's always, it's the reinterpretation. I'd love to see, what happens in 100 years' time. I'd love to be around to see that, but
Now that you've had a taste of being in Warhammer to this level, do you see yourself wanting to be part of this enormous franchise further down the line, or?
Well, I'd be interested to see where it goes. I'd be fascinated to see how this story continues, whether it branches off into different forms of expression. Of course. I mean, it is a great world, and again, it's the thoroughness and the layers and layers of creativity that go into making this world that continues to excite me. It's really, I think it's got real potential.